Welcome everyone. Welcome to our virtual admitted students week. Um, I'm sure you guys, if you've been tuning in earlier this week, you'll know that we are extremely sad to not have you guys on campus. We really wish we could be talking to you guys in person and everything and show you around our campus. But we are so glad that, like I said, we have things like Zoom and are able to still call and interact with you guys a little bit. And we're glad that we're taking the necessary precautions to stay safe. So yeah, we're all adjusting to the new virtual online world, as I'm sure we're all working on online classes and all of that good stuff. And it's weird and new, but we're doing it all together. So that's really cool that we get to have this one thing in common. So yeah, before we get started, we're just gonna introduce ourselves. So my name's Annie. Like I said, recognize some of you guys from our earlier mock rock session this week if you guys learned some dances with us. But I'm a third year biblical and theological studies student at Biola. And I'm from La Palma, California, which is about 15 minutes south of Biola. And then here's my partner, Seth, today. Oh, Seth is muted. Oh no. Oh man. I'll speak for him.
Here we go.
Oh
I'm
no,
good.
you got it. All right.
Yeah, we're good. Hi guys, my name is Seth. I am a senior journalism major at Biola, so I'll be graduating in like 2 weeks, virtually graduating. Some of the things that we're going to be going over today, Annie is going to be talking about on-campus jobs, how you can be applying for those, what kind of the interview process looks like for a lot of those, and then just what her personal experience has been with having her 2 on-campus jobs during her 3 years at Biola. Then after that, I will be talking a little bit about internships. I've had 3 internships while I've been at Biola that have been related to journalism, related to my major. Most Biola students do graduate with at least 1 internship, so that's something that you guys will probably go through. And then I'll also be talking about kind of the requirements and how you can find an internship. And then after all of that, we'll be taking your guys' questions. So we've already received a number of questions, but as we're kind of talking, you guys can put in the chat any questions that you have, and we will try to get to those in about the last 10 minutes of this meeting.
Yep, awesome. Okay, so it actually looks like we have a couple more participants since we first started. So in case you missed it, I'm going to reintroduce ourselves. My name's Annie. I'm a Bible major, and then this is Seth, and he's a journalism major, and we're just going to be talking about jobs and internships. So yeah, let's just get started. Like Seth said, I'm going to cover some different on-campus jobs and talk about what that looks like for me. And so first, like preliminary question, everyone asks, how do you apply for on-campus jobs? The main way that we do that is through a website called Handshake. And so we're actually going to drop a link for you guys soon in the chat. But it's just biola.joinhandshake.com. It's a very easy to navigate website. And on there, you can look for on-campus jobs, different internships, and even off-campus jobs as well. And so sometimes professors will put up things like, we need a babysitter, or we need someone to work our garden. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different jobs on there for off-campus, but it's mostly used for on-campus jobs. So that website will be available to you around mid-July or so. And so you'll just be able to use your Biola email address and then log in, check out different jobs. And so, yeah, the link is in there right now if you guys want to, look at it a little bit. But so it connects students to internships on off-campus jobs. It invites you to career events, different things like that. And then you also use it to schedule different appointments with different departments. So in terms of interview process and what it's looked like for me to apply, I've worked several on-campus jobs throughout the past 3 years. I absolutely love working for Biola. It is one of my favorite things to do. And so past interview processes that I've had, so the one that I had for this job, student ambassadors, I just found the application on Handshake. I applied and I just submitted my resume. And so pretty much every job you would just submit your resume. And so if you don't have one, now is a really great time to start building one and start figuring out how one would look. And we also even have a career office that helps you build your own resume. And so if you aren't really sure what that should look like, you can go ahead and ask our career offices for help. And so you would submit a resume, and then they would get back to me a couple weeks later or so. And yeah, so I've had a couple different styles of interviews. There's phone interviews where you are just talking to someone on the phone. It's pretty straightforward. They ask you a couple questions, and sometimes that's the first round of interviews. And then sometimes it moves on to a smaller, more intimate interview where it's just you and your future employer. And then those are really great ways to also just grow in your communication skills and ability to present yourself. And then I've also had some group interviews as well. And so this was actually the first time I had a group interview for another on-campus job that I have right now. And so I work this job as a student ambassador tour guide. I give tours around campus, but then I'm also a peer academic advisor. So I help students create their schedule, choose majors, things like that. And for that job, we did a group interview where there were like 60 of us all in one room. We got broken off into small groups, and we just did like, we all moved together as a pod doing different activities, and that's sort of how they evaluated us. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that our employers on campus do interviews. And so it would be great to do a mock interview or something like that with our career office just to prepare for the different kinds that we have. So that's sort of what that looks like for me. But in terms of just general personal experiences on campus jobs, like I said, I absolutely love working for Biola. Last year, I actually had an off-campus job. I worked for a little bakery thing, and that was super fun. But I realized that it's just so much more convenient to have an on-campus job for a lot of different reasons. So one, it's convenient because they're flexible with your schedule. And yeah, I mean, we have classes that are not just always stacked like one after another throughout the day. And so sometimes it's hard to ask for a certain amount of hours at an off-campus job when they're not willing to work around student schedules. And so that's definitely helped that employers on campus know that we have classes and that we have other extracurriculars and things that we're involved in. And so they're super willing and open to work with your schedules. On top of that, I just love having Christian employers. And so at my other job, I think maybe there was one other Christian girl who worked on the same staff as me, but really working on an on-campus job has been one of the most like seriously life-giving things I've ever done on campus. I've grown so much spiritually, and just being able to start staff meetings with, hey, what are your guys' prayer requests? Or what are some things that the Lord has been doing in your life? And that's just been such a cool opportunity to grow spiritually in something that I wasn't really expecting to focus on. And even before we actually left campus to all go to our respective homes for quarantine, our staff was doing a worship and prayer meeting together. And yeah, it's just different moments like that where we really get to see how much it means to work alongside brothers and sisters in Christ, and just how encouraging that is. And even just the other day, we had a staff meeting where we were all encouraging each other and like assigning emojis to our coworkers. And that was so fun because people would just say really neat stuff like, yeah, I've just seen you grow in your relationship with the Lord, and it's been so cool to see you come from here to here. And I'm sure staff can attest to this, but it's such a life-giving thing to work with your brothers and sisters in Christ. And it's just really beautiful to be able to grow in that while also developing your professional skills. So that's sort of the third thing, is just I've grown so much professionally in working on-campus jobs. And so whether it's communication skills with giving tours and being relational and interacting with families, or just learning how to do a lot of skills in the office, like for my academic advising job where I'm working with spreadsheets and having staff meetings weekly and just different things like that. It really is a neat experience to be able to have all those things accessible to you on campus. And so for the sake of convenience, for the sake of working with Christian brothers and sisters, and also just the professional skills, the on-campus jobs I've had have really prepared me for life after Biola. So that's been a little bit of my personal experience. And then just lastly, to touch base on something that we've been talking about a lot this week, is just community. And so I've actually met some of my best friends, or worked with my best friends in the jobs that I have on campus. And so, there's not just one way that you can build community on campus. You don't have to just do events, or it's not just found on your dorm floor, but it's also found through on-campus jobs. And so, for example, I would never have met Seth ever if not for this job. He's a senior journalism major and I'm a junior Bible major. Our paths would never have crossed in any way. But now I get to be friends with him because we work this job together. And so, yeah, I've met some of my closest friends this year through this student ambassador job, and we will do sleepovers and go out for meals all the time and get coffee. And so it really is also just a great place to build community if you're coming in as a freshman who doesn't know anyone. Yeah, that's just a really great opportunity for that there. And so that's a little bit about on-campus jobs. Like Seth said at the beginning, if you have any questions about that, feel free to chat it and then we'll get to it at the end. But here's Seth to talk about internships.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome. I have also worked 2 on-campus jobs while I've been at Biola, both as a resident advisor, an RA, and then as an ambassador for Biola. But yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about internships. Like I said, I have had 3 internships while I was at Biola. And over 70% of Biola's students have had at least one internship by the time that they graduate. And what that really means is that we're more equipped to be able to find jobs after we do graduate because we have that real life experience. And so over 90% of Biola's students within their first 6 months after graduation have either found a job or have moved on to graduate school. And a lot of that can be attributed to the internships that we're able to connect you with. So my first internship that I had was at the Los Angeles Police Department. And that was found for me just through a professor that I'm very close to, who had me a few different times in class. And I was kind of struggling to find an internship. I didn't really know where to begin. And so Biola is really the place where you can begin to look for those internships. Your professors, your career center, alumni, other students are your best resources in how to find those internships. So when my professor recommended to me the LAPD, I was like, what would I do there as a journalism major? How would like my journalism skills fit in there at all? And it was actually right after my freshman year, so it was pretty early on at Biola. But he connected me with one of their media relations officers. And so I got to shadow that officer kind of as he was going from place to place to talk to the media about whatever had happened that was related to the police in Los Angeles. And so that was an excellent opportunity for me. I got to meet a bunch of media professionals who were coming out to talk to the police. So people from local stations like ABC and Fox and NBC and KTLA. And so that was really, really cool just to meet those people and begin to network with them. I actually didn't have that internship count for any credit, but I had 2 internships after that that did. So I had one just about a year ago at the start of last summer that was with Trinity Broadcasting Network. That is one of the larger Christian broadcasting stations around the world. So they have offices in Los Angeles, in Texas, in New York, in Jerusalem, in China, I believe. So they really are worldwide. And that was actually a paid internship. It was another situation of Biola connecting with me and helping me to find an internship that would fit me well. And so an alumni from Biola who was currently working at TBN reached out to another one of my professors and asked if we had any students at Biola who might be interested in a paid internship with them. And that is quite often how we are able to find internships as Biola students, is just that alumni connection. I really encourage you guys to get on LinkedIn as soon as you get into Biola, just to make connections with other students, oftentimes older students who are juniors and seniors when you're a freshman, because they're going to graduate before you. They're going to go out and find different job opportunities. And if they kind of know you well, they can recommend you as someone who they think would fit that same job or that same place of work where they currently are. And so that can be such a great resource. So yeah, an alumni reached out to my professor who connected with me, who once again thought that I might be a good fit for this. And so I met with them and I did maybe a 10-minute interview. And they said that I was hired. And a lot of that was just the reputation that Biola has had with that network. And so the more that we have students going out and interning to a variety of places, the better that Biola's reputation becomes with those businesses. And so oftentimes I've applied to a number of jobs after college. And when they find out where I go to school, they're like, oh yeah, we've had an intern who worked here, or we've had a couple of people in the past 5 years or so who are from Biola and they did excellent work. And so from all those people who have come before you, they are kind of setting out a path for you to more easily be able to find an internship and an opportunity. And so that was an incredible internship that was paid, like I said. And so I got to work live and kind of at a studio doing hands-on work, sitting in on meetings and really being one of the team. That can be one of the best things about internships, because as much as no matter what you're studying, classes can teach you and kind of give you that knowledge. It's only at an internship where you can jump right into what a workspace would be like and really see if it's for you. If what your major is, or what that internship is giving you the opportunity to do, is something that you want to do for life. And so that's why it's so great to look for internships in your freshman year or sophomore year, really early on, so that you can get some hands-on experience there, and see if it's something that you truly enjoy. And so for me, these internships were real opportunities to confirm that what I was doing was something that I absolutely loved, and the people that I was working with were also so incredible. And then my final and most recent internship, it was about 120 hours I was there. I was there 3 days a week for 5 hours a day, I think for 10 weeks. And so it really felt like I just completely worked there. I was going to school here and I was doing the internship there. And that was at a local radio station that broadcasts over 4 different stations, doing talk radio as well as music. So I got kind of a sense for everything. I worked under their creative director as he kind of taught me how to write commercials for radio. I worked with their news guy who was giving news updates on all the stations about every 15 minutes. I worked with their traffic person, with production, who are kind of creating all the shows, and some of the talent who are writing and producing and obviously on air, doing their shows. And so just to have all of those resources, to also just network with those people, that can be some of your best work, is just connecting with professionals who are going to help you once you graduate, and you can reach out to them for recommendations, and they can honestly tell jobs or possible employers that you were an excellent person to work with. And so I feel like Biola's classes and Biola's work experiences really set you up well, to be someone that is likable and easy to remember when you do get out in the workforce. And then those internships solidify your opportunities for full-time jobs after you have graduated. And so, yeah, internships I know can be something that feel very daunting to find, especially now as you're in high school or transferring in. But I promise you that they are not as difficult to find as you kind of feel. And a lot of those resources are just going to come from those around you. So once again, your professors, your alumni that are coming from Biola, and other students are just really excellent resources for that, as well as we have a career center here at Biola. Annie was kind of mentioning that, but they can also help you find those internships and kind of capitalize on those connections that you might not personally know about, but Biola knows about. And so for my final internship, the most recent one at the radio station, I didn't have any good leads on where I could find my next internship, but I contacted the Career Center. I set up a free appointment with them. The Career Center is a lifetime resource. So if it's 5 years down the line, you've had a job for a little while, and you've graduated from Biola and now you want to find a new job, you can come back to the Career Center to have the same resources that they can provide in helping you find internships or jobs. And so I sat down with them. They showed me a couple of different businesses that we had good connections with that were related to my personal field. And they were able to connect me with a variety of them. And then I kind of had my pick of what might work best for me. And so that ended up being that radio station. And so, yeah, internships, incredible opportunity, whether your major requires them or not. I highly, highly recommend getting at least one under your belt by the time that you graduate. It'll really kind of make your time at Biola easier, but especially help finding a job after you graduate a lot easier. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about internships. I know that a lot of you guys have been dropping your questions in the chat for the past 20 minutes or so, and so we have a lot of your questions ready to go. So we're going to get started on those. Annie, actually, my computer crashed like right as we started this whole thing. So I don't know if maybe you could read the questions out and we could go back and forth answering them or something like that.
Yes, for sure. I'll let you know. Okay, well,
Okay.
the first question is, I can actually answer first. This
Sure.
first question, a lot of you guys have been sending in what kind of on-campus jobs are there that students can apply for. And so there's the job that we work right now as student ambassadors. Seth and I are both tour guides, but then there's also social media representatives. And so they're the ones who are doing a lot of zine content if you guys are on that. And they also handle different posts and blogs. And so that's a really cool job if you're interested in representing Biola as a brand. We also have workers in the cafeteria, in coffee shops, administrative assistants, PAs for professors, research assistants for professors. We also have students working in the library, or Seth even mentioned resident advisors. And so those are the students who work in the dorms. And they're sort of like the big brother, big sister of the floor. And that's a really, that's a really good job that a lot of students apply for. And then my other job as a peer academic advisor. We have different staff members for our student missionary union or our student government. And so pretty much any job that you can think of exists and students fill those jobs. And so there's not just like 10 jobs on campus that everyone's competing for, but there are so many opportunities and they're all available on Handshake. So as soon as you get access, I recommend just going on there and checking out what we have. So that's that question. Someone also asked, how many students work at Disneyland while attending Biola? And I can answer that question too. I have one friend who works for Disneyland. She actually works under like their media kind of department. She's a cinema media arts major, and yeah, I mean, I only know one person. I know a lot of students go to Disneyland and really like being at Disneyland, and I'm sure there are plenty of other students who work there. But yeah, they do have jobs and internships available for Biola students, and students do get those, and those are all available on the Disneyland website. So yeah, that is a fun question. Next, this is for Seth actually. Are there a lot of available jobs in the surrounding areas?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the location of Biola is really ideal to find off-campus jobs if that's something that you're looking for. And so, yeah, Biola is really residential. So within 10 minutes of us, there are a ton of jobs that are perfect for kind of a college worker, whether that be like grocery stores or fast food places, or I have a friend who works at like a record store. I do have a couple of friends who work at Disneyland, a couple who work at Knott's Berry Farm, because Knott's Berry Farm is about 15 minutes from Biola. And so, yeah, there are a ton of off-campus jobs, and that's even perfect if you are living off campus and kind of in the area of Biola, of something that you can connect with nearby. So obviously just go on any of the local job sites, and a ton of things should pop up that fit your qualifications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The next question, when and where can I start applying to on-campus jobs? So I sort of touched on that one, but just to give a straightforward answer. So it's all going to be on Handshake. All going to be on Handshake. Sometimes I think I've seen it once when like one of our cafes would have like a little poster, and then they'd say like, email us your resume, and then we'll go from there. And so on the rare occasion, it's not through Handshake, but for the most part it is. And then you can start applying to on-campus jobs as soon as you get access to Handshake, which is, like I said, around mid-July or so. So yeah, you can just go from there. Next question, what kind of support is provided to students seeking out research, internship, job opportunities? And is it easy to find paid internships through Biola?
Yeah, like I was kind of talking about earlier, the Career Center is really your best friend for that. If you
Mhm.
don't feel like you have enough personal connections, just with alumni or professors or anything like that, the Career Center is incredible for helping you find those internships. And if a paid internship is really what you need, what you want, if a non-paid internship is like not an option for you, they can help you narrow down your search in that realm. I would recommend going to them earlier if you know a paid internship is something that you want. And it might not be the first internship that you can get, but yeah, they're incredible. I know they have connected a lot of our students with BuzzFeed, with Vans, with for me a number of those broadcasting availabilities. I had a friend in the sciences who was a biology major who got to go out to Texas, and his housing was paid for, his meals were paid for, and I think he was given a $6,000 stipend for working the entire summer, just doing an internship over there. So there are a ton of incredible opportunities, and all of those can really be helped by the Career Center.
Mhm. Yeah. Here's a question that's sort of related to that for you, Seth. How is
Yeah.
networking and alumni based following graduation?
Yeah, it's been really, really good for me actually. Just as I've been ending my time here, I've been trying to increase my relationship with alumni, maybe that I didn't even go to school with necessarily, but that I see graduated in a similar field as I did. I've talked to people that I've never met, but just kind of contacted through LinkedIn and been like, hey, could you possibly give me some advice in these certain areas? And it's really awesome how truly available those people are and want to be for other Biola students. I know if I go on from Biola and I happen to land a good gig that I really enjoy and that other people from Biola might want to hear about, it would be my first priority to help other Biola students. And so we have an extremely connected community and one that really cares about each other's success. And so do not be afraid to reach out to alumni, whether that be now or 3 or 4 years from now, because they want to help you be successful.
Mhm. When do you start internships?
Like I said, for myself, I got my first internship right after my freshman year. However, that did not count towards credit for Biola. Most majors have you take a class before you get an internship for credit. That is basically a 1 credit class. So it's about 1 hour every week, pretty minimal homework, but it's just to teach you how to act, how to get an internship, how to connect with alumni, that type of thing. And so, yeah, just a kind of general help course before you go out and get that internship, just to make sure that we've given you all of the correct preparations so that you can best fit in at an internship. But yeah, honestly, if you can find one now or after your freshman year or as early as possible, I highly recommend it.
Mhm.
When you should start looking for credit specifically, probably after your sophomore year or in the middle of your sophomore year is a good time to start looking.
Mhm. And then this question both of us can answer, but someone asked, is it possible to have free time if you have an internship and a job and a class? Um, so I've actually never had an internship before. I pretty much I really enjoy just working. And so there are a couple semesters where I have multiple jobs. And so, yeah, this whole year I've had 2 jobs. And then I'm taking 14 credits. And so the maximum credit load is about 18 credits. And then the minimum credit load for full-time student is 12 credits. And so I'm like somewhere in the middle with 2 jobs, working about 21 hours a week. And it's been pretty manageable for me. I was also doing mock rock this semester, which is also like 6 hours a week on top of that. And I think it really just depends on how good at managing your time you are.
Yeah.
Because I'm like a wake up at 6 a.m., do homework before I go to school and do class. Um, and I really like studying with friends. And so that's also a really good way to get your people time in and yeah, but also be studying and being productive. And yeah, I don't know. I think I've just learned how to say no to certain things. And so as tempting as it is to go to the beach at 11 p.m. at night, sometimes you just got to say no. And yeah, but then I think it helps me a lot to know, like, or to reward myself at the end of the week, like, okay, I worked super hard this week. And so on Saturday, I'm going to go hang out with my friends or do something like that. And so it really is all about balancing and time management. But I think it
Yeah.
totally is possible to do both. I don't know if what's been your experience.
Yeah. I am not a naturally organized person at all. And so it's definitely been an adjustment for me. I would say if you're not naturally organized, don't jump into college and just go for it of like, I want 2 jobs, I want an internship, I want a full 18 unit course load. What I did, and this really worked for me, is my first year at Biola, my freshman year, I actually didn't have a job. I just focused on my classes and getting used to Biola and getting used to what that was going to be like. My sophomore year, I had a job and also worked, and also went to class, obviously. And then my senior year is when I have had an internship, a job, and gone to class full time. And so by kind of slowly easing myself into that, I think that's worked really well for me. But yeah, just kind of know yourself, give yourself the time to adjust. But honestly, if they are things that you enjoy, which I love my job, I loved my internship, my classes are incredible, and so that makes things speed by. And obviously, you're going to have some times where you're struggling to get through everything, but you need time to do other things. If you're not giving yourself that time, then that's probably not going to be healthy for your success in those kind of academic or professional areas. And so give yourself time to relax. I live in a house with a number of other guys that's about a half-mile away from Biola. And so it was really nice to come home from, I went to my internships at 6 a.m., went to work at 2 p.m., had class for 3 hours from like 5 to 8, and just come home to a house that was like, hey, we're all going to cook dinner together or something like that. So give yourself, even if it's just small opportunities, give yourself the ability to relax.
Yeah. That's yeah, and that actually sort of answers another question that someone asked of would you recommend taking on a job as a freshman? And yeah, exactly like Seth said, you know yourself best and you probably know what you can handle and what you can't handle. I didn't have a job at Biola until my second semester. And so I gave myself that first semester to just yeah, ease into college, see what it was like to have a full credit load, and also work on building my friendships and things like that. And so I'm sure Seth would say the same thing. You sort of also know yourself, and yeah, but it totally is possible. I have a couple of friends who have worked at like Biola coffee shops their freshman year. So yeah, it sort of is up to you. And then another question, were your internships flexible with your schedule still as a college student?
Yes, actually, absolutely. I think that's incredibly important for companies that are offering internships to recognize that you have other things going on. If the internship that you're applying for seems like they're going to make you prioritize them over everything else, it might not be a good fit for you, and you might not be getting the recommendations leaving them as you might hope. So my first internship was over the summer, so I didn't have to worry about a ton of other things. But take my most recent internship, for example, I had another job and I had classes to worry about. Before we got into all of that, I let them know what my schedule is going to be like. I let them know that, you know, sometimes even if I'm scheduled to come in, something might come up, and it did a couple of times. They were completely understanding with me, and that was so helpful to just feel comfortable there. But yeah, I think that they want you to prioritize school because they know this is something academic for you, and so your work for them is they know that they are helping you, and so over they don't want to put too much pressure on you to kind of do everything that they need you to do first. Like anything else, they should be prioritizing your schoolwork and your job if you have one. But yeah, don't ever blow off your internship to just go to the beach or something. Um, but but yeah, they are quite gracious, at least in my 3 experiences.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Is it difficult for Tory students to balance school and jobs? Yeah, so I'm actually in Tory. I'm finishing up my last semester of Tory. I actually have session after this. But yeah, I've worked every semester except my freshman first semester, like I said. And I don't know. Part of me thinks it's just because I really love school and I love like managing my time well, and that's just something that I think is one of my strengths. But There definitely have been late nights where I have worked a full day and then I have classes all day and then I have to read like 300 pages for the next day. And so situations like that do sort of come up and it can be hard at times. But there are plenty of Tory students who are incredibly involved in the Biola community. Our student government president and vice president actually are both in Tory. And so they have a full plate, but also are in Tory and have their other classes. And yeah, and so I don't think necessarily having that distinction of being a Tory student means it's harder for you to get a job at all. It definitely is doable and sort of all comes down to how you decide to manage your time. And so if you're not doing homework at all and going out constantly, then yeah, it'll be a little bit hard. But yeah, I think it's also helpful to know that the on-campus jobs are really fun because you have student coworkers. And so even sometimes when I'm working, it never feels like work because I'm with my friends and we're all doing a job together. And so even then, it doesn't even feel like I'm losing something and compromising social time for work because it sort of goes hand in hand. So I don't know if that exactly answers the question, but it totally is doable for Tory students to do that. And then, yeah, I know we're going a little bit over time, but we're going to answer one last question for you guys. Number one tip for students as they prepare and apply for internships and jobs. So, Seth, do you want to answer that first?
Sure. I think something that I really struggled with, and I know a lot of my friends did when applying for internships and jobs, is saying like, "Oh, I won't get this one," or "I don't know if I'm going to be good enough for this," or "That seems like a lot of effort just to maybe not get something." Have confidence in yourself. Have confidence in yourself when you are applying, when you're putting together your resume, when you're answering questions. Have confidence if you are reaching out to an alumni or anyone else that could possibly connect you with an internship or an off-campus job or anything like that. Just kind of believe in yourself, and you will be surprised how many people positively respond to that. And so, in my experience, people are out to help you. They want to be your friend in this. They want to give a college student who is striving for success all of the possible tools that they can to kind of help prepare them. And so, yeah, just get out there, feel confidence in yourself, feel ready to go, that you can do this, and I guarantee you that you will be able to find something that does work for you.
Yeah, I think just to jump on that, in terms of jobs specifically, like exactly what Seth said, that totally applies to jobs. But I think my number one tip would just to be persistent. I remember my freshman year, I applied for a ton of things and I did not get a couple of them. And so it was extremely frustrating at first and I just wanted to give up. But there totally are things that you can apply for over and over and over again. And one of my friends applied for a job twice, 2 years in a row, and she didn't get it both times. But then this year she applied for it again and she got it. And so, I would recommend if you are really passionate about something, really excited to do something, then just be persistent and go for it. And that's just a really cool way for them to see like, oh, this person really cares about what they're applying for. And so I would encourage you to just keep going. And even when you feel discouraged, when things don't exactly go your way, I would just say, remember you can keep trying and something is always there for you. So that's all for our jobs and internship session. Thank you guys for joining us. If you guys had any more questions that we didn't get to, you can ask your admissions counselor and find their contact information on the event page. But that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining us, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this week of admitted student virtual sessions. Thank you guys. You guys are free to go now.